Hi, welcome to the Fatherly Edition, a podcast by Tommaso Maggio alongside with a cavalcade of Daddy. Join us!
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Fatherly Edition by Tommaso Maggio. Today we are with Jamie. Jamie working as Shambhala Center, that is a non-profit organization, and currently is the director and resident meditation instructor. So welcome Jamie, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
If you want to introduce a bit yourself, your background, how you changed during those years before and after having the kids.
Okay, sure. I start by saying that my oldest son is 20, almost 21 years old. So it's been a while for me since my first experience of fatherhood. But I remember it being a pretty stark contrast that I was coming from a place of being kind of a wild and free young adult in my late 20s. I think I was 20 now when my first son was born. And oops, I just gave away my age.
It's fine.
Joking. And so, I remember then suddenly it was like, oh, wow, now I have this huge responsibility of like taking care of another person, another life. While it's this amazing to watch, the birth of your child and to see that there's a living being, who's like come from you and is part of you and everything, then you're like, oh shit, now I have no time to do anything for myself. Whereas before it was just like leisurely time. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, aside from my work schedule and my other obligations, it's like then suddenly it's like, I guess the good thing is it starts off a little bit slow, right? Like when they're babies, they sleep a lot. And so then you have like, okay, it's always sleeping. But then they start to get older, right? And then it's like it starts to become more demanding, and then they become more interactive, and then you have even less time for yourself because it's like, especially when they start to become mobile, right? Then you're like, shit, they're like, when they're on the move, you have to be constantly watching, you have to be constantly observing, like, what are they going to do? What are they going to grab? What kind of trouble are they going to get into? What are they going to do? They're going to endanger themselves, I used to say, I used to joke with people that I never had ADHD before I became a parent. And then suddenly it's like, I couldn't have a conversation with anybody. It was like, I couldn't complete a sentence even, And then I was like, oh no, I was just going to do something. He's going to grab something. Where to stop? Get it. Or they're interrupting you, or they're asking you a question or something like that,
Yeah, that's what happened all the time, So,
yeah.
We don't know if we became what they say, the helicopter parent. So we are always on top of them to see whatever they're doing is the right or not. Over controlling. I mean, if we can compare, maybe that leads to the next question. Our generation with the generation of our parents, how you see the difference between the approach with your son compare your parents with you?
No, maybe yeah. Well, I definitely think that we inherit something from our parents about our parenting style, that we but our job really is to become more conscious about what's really necessary, what's really the best, and not just to operate out of the, pattern of our habit or our, like whatever our upbringing was. In other words, like the best thing we can do as parents is to not carry any of the mistakes that our parents made into our generation and the next generation in terms of making the same mistakes. And I'm not saying I had bad parents or anything, but, you can see there's some deficiencies, some shortcomings maybe in that. Maybe it was just the mentality of the people, like in different time that, and for me anyways, I realized like, it's not really, I can see my habits, and I see my, like maybe what's my bad habit, that it was maybe inherited from my upbringing or, some misunderstanding. And so then my job, is to be more conscious about it and to try to, teach my children, to show my children the kind of love and care and attention and understanding, that they need, so that they grow up into being mature and responsible adults.
And do you think that the fact that you live abroad from where you originally are from help you to understand the difference of attitudes? Because you can look at things with a bit distance, not just because you grow up, but maybe because how you are even growing your own child in a different culture from US, Thailand, for instance.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it makes a big, you see a lot of different parenting styles when you grow up in an international community, an international city, like Bangkok. So you've got your, the Thai approach, and then you've got a lot of other people from a lot of different countries. I mean, that's one of the things I personally love about being here, is the exposure to so many different people and ideas from different countries and different cultures. But I have to say also that equally important, or probably more important, is the effect of my meditation practice on the how conscious I am about what I'm doing as a parent, and my habits and my styles and my tendencies and my understandings from my upbringing and stuff like that. That the meditation is even more effective at shining a light on that and making things conscious, bringing to light whatever it is.
Yeah, that's an important point, because some parents say, so I have to look after my kid, I never have time to do meditation. But you can say that you are the living proof that you can find your own time. Depend, of course. You manage your own schedule at a certain time.
Yeah. Well,
it's easy, of course.
I would say that it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. I mean, the thing is that, it's like the analogy of like when the plane starts to go down and it's going to crash, the air max, oxygen masks come out, and you have to put on your own oxygen mask first. Otherwise,
right.
You can't help anybody else if you pass out,
Exactly.
To breathe, right? So you have to take care of yourself. So that's the great challenge. This is your mission, should you choose to accept it. Mission impossible.
Right. I agree with you.
Yeah.
You must be able to take care of yourself, no? If you're not well with you, how you care of others, how you can share your experience with others. And by living yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so that, like in and of itself is like, that's the great reckoning, because then you have to really look at your schedule. You have to really look at how you're spending your time, and you have to really look at your priorities, and you have to say to yourself, what of the things, that I'm doing right now, can I cut out of my, schedule so that I have time for the things that are the most important, the essentials.
Right.
Time spent with your child, obviously, and the time to take care of yourself, and the time to take care of your responsibilities.
Right. Thank you for this insight. Do you notice, since you are part of these two cultures, the US and Thai at this point because you spend a lot of time here already. So do you find any struggle as father in these two society, or some preconception that is a bit you notice or maybe affect you somehow?
Difference in Thai style of parenting and
or more about fatherhood, there is something that you struggle with, or you see some preconception about what should be the role of father
based on, you mean, Thai?
Oh, just your experience. Yeah, I mentioned the Thai. You asked because your experience is broad between these two sides of the globe.
Right.
If there
well, I mean, for me, it's the thing is that the Thai style of parenting is a different approach from,
of course,
the American approach to parenting. And I think the real challenge is to not look at one or the other and say this is right and this is wrong, but to take each of them in their own right and understand and I mean, really to feel what's the thing that's the wisdom, behind each of the different traditions and the cultures, and then to take the best parts from each of them,
Sure.
So I think the Thai approach is a little bit more relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
The Thai approach is a little bit more like the father is a provider, more than anything. Whereas the American approach is very much about kind of like, interactive, almost like a second mother, if I may say that. That more and more, I think the American approach to fatherhood is that the father is like a second mother. And so for me, it was kind of helpful, to relax that kind of preconceived idea and to just kind of say, well, what is it really that I see that's wise about, this versus that, and where do I fit, in that spectrum? Right. It relaxed something that feels like an unnecessary expectation. Like, yeah, truthfully, honestly, when I moved here, I really do need to support my family, and that, needs to be my focus. But that doesn't mean I don't want to spend time, or it doesn't mean I can't find time to spend with my children, to spend with my son. I did figure out a way to spend time with him. But I don't know. I think it's very personal for each.
It is. That's why I ask each person to see how each of us answer, or what is the context, that you want to apply your own experience. So there are, of course, some society that are a bit more, let's say, rigid in terms of preconception, what father should do, sort of script. And then if you move a bit, there is a bit of pressure from society, people around. But then, of course, as you say, it's about how you move between those lines. What are society expectations and how you position yourself. I agree with what you say. You have to find your own place.
Yep. And I would say, the biggest thing and the most important part is that if you're in touch with your own heart and your own feelings, then you're going to know, what your child needs. And you're going to be sensitive enough to feel like, they need to know that you really are there for them, that you're really listening, that you really care about them. And that when you spend time with them, that you're really with them, that you're really present. And that's the thing I think that makes the big difference, is when you show up and when you're there, when you have that time, your family time, and you're committed, and you're with them, that when you really are present with the person, your child, then they're going to feel that, and they're going to know that they feel listened to, they feel understood, they feel loved and supported.
Totally agree. And this fact, this conversation raised the point even with other dads. So everybody agree that the time you spend with your kids, how you spend this time, the fact you really actively listening that make the difference more than any other present or gift you can give to them, because the material things they forget about. But the fact you are there and you spend face to face, eye to eyes with them, that's what make the difference in long term.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right. So if you have one tips for new dads or upcoming dads, what you want to say? Any recommendation?
I would say above all, that if you're willing to make time for your children, then I think you can just be open about having, not have to have too many expectations about how exactly, it's going to turn out. Honestly, I think what I'm trying to say is that I don't feel like I actually really even know for sure what it means to be a good father, but I want to try. I care about my children, and I want to be there for them, and I want to support them. And I don't know if I've done the best job at being a father, but I'm trying. And if you try, then you're going to find a way. I think that's really the main thing I'm trying to say.
But pretty clear. So yes, I assume that is the only way. At least you know what is the best for you as a person, how you can reach your own best. In fact, I opened this conversation without it there just to share our own experience, to see how each of us approach being a dad. There is no wrong or right, but it's just a way to a conversation, see how you approach things. Sometimes you feel somebody is struggling, and then maybe you give something to chat about. So why? So there's always reason. So what is the biggest things you learn from your child? One of. I'm sure you learn a lot.
Biggest thing? The biggest thing I think is, it's all kind of tied up together, but the biggest thing I think, like you were hinting to at the beginning, is, that we have to let them learn for themselves. We can't that they have to go through their own experiences of making mistakes, and that is what actually teaches them how to grow up and teaches them how to be responsible. Because ultimately, what are we trying to do? We're trying to raise them to be responsible, caring people in the future. And if we constantly are trying to do everything for them, and we're constantly trying to prevent them from ever falling, or from ever from ever making mistakes, we prevent them from learning. And if we prevent them from learning, then we prevent them from growing, and we prevent them from becoming from understanding that they are responsible for themselves, that they're the only ones who are responsible for their own actions. So, sometimes we have to let them trip. It's a really hard thing to learn as a parent, I think. Sometimes we have to let them make the mistake. We can give them some advice, and then we have to let them try on their own and see. And we have to watch and let go, so that they and there's, especially when they're young children, right? We have to make those calls. Like, this is a kind of mistake that I can allow them to make. It's not very dangerous. If they get near the edge of the cliff, okay, that's it. It's too far. You don't get. We're not going to let them fall off the edge of the cliff. But if they're going to trip and fall, and then we tell them, no, don't do that. You're going to trip if you're going to you're going to hurt yourself. And then we keep saying, you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to hurt yourself. And they keep doing it, they're testing us. Then we have to say, it's not working, we have to let them actually we tell them one time, you might not want to do that, as you might hurt yourself if you do. And then we let them do it. And they can, guess what? They learn for themselves, like, oh shit, I'm responsible for myself.
Yeah, sometimes the hard way is the best way, no? Yeah, you can't force the way too much, as you say, so you can just suggest. And then...
and then the question is to come in with compassion, and pick them up when they're hurt, and to show them that we care and that we really love them.
Thank you. I say even given their own time, because sometimes as parents, we want to give answer and make sure nothing happens in the real time. Sometimes they just need a bit more time, minutes, hours, days to recap if something happened. Now, if give them their space, not just a physical space. Space mean even time, persona, so these are serious things to consider.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So say it's a 24 hours, 7 day out of 7 job. So once you roll, you can say, okay, out for holiday. Yeah. So thank you. So do you want you have anything else to add or you want to share? You're free to share.
Well, yeah, I guess I could say that at one point I did study some philosophy, parenting philosophy, and that's where I'm getting some of the ideas that I'm sharing with you. I mean, I'm talking, also that I can attest that in my own experience, that it works. What I'm explaining about, and to let children make their own mistakes and that they learn from, to be responsible. But I studied this love and logic parenting when I was, when I was having a problem with my first son, when he was going through his terrible twos. I mean, honestly, I reached a point with him where I was like, he was a little angel, he was like such a precious, innocent, sweet little kid, and then it was like overnight, he like turned into the devil, and it was like nothing was working. And I was like, all right, I got to get serious about this, and I got to start doing something differently, and I've got to really study this stuff and try to understand it, so because otherwise I'm screwed, because this is like chaos. This is terrible. What's happening right now? And I don't know what to do, So I started studying this stuff, and then it took me a while to kind of like try to change some of my behaviors in order to kind of integrate it, but I just kind of tried to slowly implement some of the approaches that they recommend in love and logic parenting, and I found it's turned things around pretty quickly. Actually, it started working, and he's a wonderful 20-year-old today, so I can say I think it works.
The application of study was working practice.
Yeah, parenting study.
Yes, that sounds a bit strange if we talk with our generation. If I say to my parents that I'm studying fatherhood or I'll be parenting nowadays. So nowadays it's quite normal. But if you consider our parents' generation, reading or study about how to behave as parent was not that normal, let's say, was not usual, no?
Yeah, sure.
I assume our generation, we have so much information that we have be capable to understand which one works for us. So we can find maybe some solution by reading or study something that before was not even considered. As parents, it's just something that happened naturally and you act as you are. Now we try to find what is wrong here? Is me? Is my child? So we question ourselves. That's the thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing all those insights and shared us a piece of your life.
My pleasure.
Thank you again. And
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me.
and see you soon.
Okay, take care.
Take care of yourself.
Tommaso, okay.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, thanks for listening the Fatherly Edition. If you like what you've been hearing, please follow Tommaso Maggio on LinkedIn or subscribe to the Fatherly Edition podcast on Spotify, Apple, or whatever you gain your podcast.